What's going on, everybody? We are back, First and Ted, Wednesday. Well, we're always on a Wednesday, so the usual. We're back on my channel this week. Me and Ted talking. We could probably spend the whole hour talking about the Trey Lance, Brock Purdy drama. I thought we would move on from drama after Jimmy Garoppolo left, but that is not the case. If any of you saw the NWO stream on Monday, it was quite the volatile place. Ryan had his views, and it was good. It was good to have that kind of a fired up conversation. So there's definitely some emotions out there when it comes to the Trey Lance Brock Purdy situation, especially with people thinking that Trey Lance still hasn't gotten the opportunity. But how you doing, Ted? How's everything going?
I'm doing good. I can't complain. I mean, I'm just a little frustrated that there's so many big names out there saying that we should trade Trey Lance, or that they think that the 49ers are going to trade Trey Lance. So, I mean, I guess I'm mad at Kyle and John. I think it's idiotic. I'm a big Shanna fan. I know Lynch isn't the best GM, but he's done well for us. But this whole thing is such a freaking disaster. How do you move up, use all these draft picks, and then, I mean, now I feel like an idiot because I was talking up Sam Darnold, but I was never talking him up to split starter reps,
No.
right? I mean, that was clear, right? I mean, we were both saying we hope we never see him play. I thought I thought he could look better than he's looked before with us, but man, I don't understand this logic, especially when you don't have a firm return timeline for Brock Purdy. Kyle got on yesterday and he was like, "Oh yeah, it could be 6 to 8 months," and he said, "So week 1 to week 4 at the latest." And I'm like, "Guess what, Kyle? 8 months from March the 10th is November the 10th, and that's Thursday night of week 10." Thursday night football of week 10. So, that's a big difference from week 4. I mean, we've been saying, I think, week 5, week 7, we thought maybe might be realistic for his return. But until you know he can really zip a football, because there's no evidence that says he'll be able to throw a football well this entire season. You can't trade Trey Lance and bank on the guy with like the worst passer rating, the worst interceptions. I mean, not the worst, but he's like bottom 3 in all those categories. Like I said, I do believe that Darnold has had a bad situation that he's been in, but in no way, shape, or form do I expect him to be, to win the starting job for week 1.
Yeah, when Jimmy left town, I thought this would be the end of things, but we saw it coming last year in the playoffs. We saw this coming. Purdy played amazing down the stretch. You could even say in some games he carried the Niners. I mean, yes, he's got a boatload of weapons around him, but he played well enough he wasn't just along for the ride, where some people say that's what Jimmy, was special at. It was just, letting the team carry him. But, I saw this coming. I thought it was a good situation, to say the least, because we would have all, a good set of quarterbacks, and we would be in a good place. But the more and more time goes on, and the more and more we're going to have of the off season, I guess the more time we're not playing football, more time all these things are being talked about, to cause all this dissension and really separation in the fan base once again. I just want us to win. I want us to be good. And the thing with Trey Lance situation is, I saw Grant Cohn tweet, the Niners drafted a project quarterback, and now they are realizing he is a project. And it's like they did this to themselves. They spent all those first round picks, did all this trading up to get him, knowing exactly what kind of quarterback he was. And they could have got him reps in his first year, but they decided to sit him. And then, of course, we all know what happened last year. So the Niners kind of did this to themselves. It's not Trey Lance. Trey Lance hasn't had a fair shake, but sometimes in these things, you don't get a fair shake. It's just the way it works out. It's professional sports. My whole thing is if he's here this year and Purdy ends up being the starter, I would have to say that they'd have to move on from him at some point, even if it's the next season. But if he's healthy week 1 and he's winning, I feel like this could kill off a lot of what's going on until he struggles, I guess. Then of course it would start all up again. But they say if you have two quarterbacks, you have none, and I kind of feel like this is the way where we're at right now. It sucks because, like I said, we had the NWO show on Monday, and Ryan's biggest issue is like, Kyle's supposed to be this great offensive genius, and yet he can't figure out how to run an offense to the skill set of his player. Instead, he just like forces his player to run the offense as is. But when Purdy came in, Purdy had an adjusted offense that wasn't the Trey Lance offense, so they did curtail it to his play style. So why can't they do it with Purdy or Trey Lance? Why can't they figure out a way to hide his inabilities and to highlight his strengths? And he's right. I don't think you could just change an offense during the season. I think that's something that goes on during the offseason and stuff. But here we go again, man. Another offseason. What is it, year 7 of the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch era, and we still don't have a quarterback, like a solid number 1 quarterback. So,
yeah, it's frustrating as heck. I saw Zach Hernandez tweeted something about how, people are saying that Brock Purdy shouldn't lose his job due to injury. But, didn't Trey Lance lose his job due to injury? He was a starter to start the 2022 season. So, I guess turnabout is fair play. And ultimately, yeah, I agree with your comment about, if Brock is the clear-cut starter, then maybe you start to consider trading Lance. I just would like to see Brock stay healthy because he's had his fair share of injuries too. Lance has had more in a shorter period of time. But neither one has been exactly an Iron Man for us.
No.
So.
Yeah, nobody in this offense that's been here since Kyle and John took over this quarterback position seems like a place of frailty, where guys just cannot stay on the field. So as far as Sam Darnold goes, I don't think he's going to be a starter. 49er Mine is in the chat. I just want to say what's up. All Niners all day. Thank you. He says, he was talking about the troll trading thing. No, the media is kind of going with it and running with it. I think this is the same thing with the talk of Sam Darnold become the starter. He wasn't brought here to become the starter. He was brought here to be an insurance policy. And they're looking at it as if they're going to split the reps because they want to have him ready. David McNiner said it. He said, remember how prepared Josh Johnson looked could be why reps are getting split. I totally agree. You can't have one guy taking all the reps and the other guy doing nothing. I think he's a comparable player as long as he's not asked to start. But if he's a guy that can come in and maybe win a game or two with you, then I'm totally for it. So I'm not really worried about that situation per se. My biggest issue is the Niners are so good in so many areas, but the one spot that they've been bad in for so long as far as having a concrete answer has been quarterback. So it's on the coach and the GM. That's their fault. It's not the player. Player's the player, he comes in and does what's asked. So the talk was he's the clubhouse leader, yet he might not be ready till first quarter of the season is over. So I don't know. And if you listen to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, it sounds like that they're kind of not on the same page. It sounds like they're speaking out both sides of their face. Do you get that kind of feeling from the situation?
Absolutely. Lynch is saying ready for camp, and Kyle's saying week 1 to week 4, which I think is much more realistic. I mean, it makes me think that Lynch never wanted Lance or doesn't want Lynch. Maybe that's where the Mac Jones rumors came from. Maybe that's where these Trey Lance rumors are coming from. Mike Silver, the arm fatigue. If you don't think that the Niners are concerned about Trey Lance, you're not paying attention. Last summer, by Mike Silver. All these things are starting to look more and more like actual leaks. And so then it's who. And right now, John Lynch is my person I suspect the most for it.
Your leaker.
Yep.
The Niners, they gave kind of a recovery timetable when asked. Kyle said that he said that once he gets throwing in 3 months, we'll start to have a better idea of when exactly he would be ready, because there's been so many different timetables. 3 months is when he can begin to throw. So by 6 months, he will be at full strength, but, he doesn't have practice reps. He doesn't have, his arm, wherever it's got to be as far as where it needs to be to start a season and go through all that. It might not quite be at that level, but I personally think the Niners are banking on him being ahead of schedule so that they don't have to have an issue of Trey Lance being a starter and having to go through possible ups and downs. But they could have avoided this in his first year playing or first year here if they just would have gave him reps and said the hell with it. You know what I mean? I know it's wasting a year, so to speak, and you're wasting a year of with a roster that could win and stuff. But man, you would have gave you a lot of answers. Like for instance, if you look at the draft class so far, you could honestly say, okay, Zach Wilson bust. You could say that what's his name? He plays in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence is he's kind of incomplete. He's definitely not what I thought. A lot of people thought he was going to be coming out, kind of like they gave him a comp to like a Peyton Manning. I don't see that. If you look at Justin Fields is more of a runner than a thrower. He's not a quarterback yet. But he also didn't have a lot of weapons around him this year, so I'm going to give him another shot. You know what I mean? Sometimes it takes a while. And then you look at in New England, you look at Mac Jones, and Mac Jones does not look like a starting level franchise quarterback. So really, this whole draft class has a giant incomplete on it right now. So why shut the door on Trey Lance when you haven't shut the door on a majority of the other guys? So I don't know. I want the Niners to win in the end, so I really don't care who the damn quarterback is. But at the same time, I kind of do because I want to have stability. So I think the best case scenario would be Mac Jones isn't ready. They start the season. Sam Darnold's the backup. Trey Lance wins, and now we have a really good cheap backup quarterback in Brock Purdy, and then we don't have to worry about it. Worst case scenario is we start the season, he struggles, and we lose a bunch of ground on other teams, and then Brock Purdy essentially has to come in and be a savior to save the season. So we want the first. We don't want the latter.
Sure, but I am not convinced that Brock Purdy starting the season means we start fast either. I mean, I think we're a pretty notoriously slow starting offense. I was talking with Taryn Lewis, TL 49er Magic this morning, and he was saying, oh, well, we got a fast start in 2019 when we started 8-0, and I was like, actually, the offense didn't start fast. It was the defense that was historic before Quan Alexander got injured, before Ronald Blair got injured, before DJ Jones got injured, before we lost our depth essentially on that defense. And the offense was sputtering enough that we traded a third and a fourth for Emmanuel Sanders. And then 2020, gosh, I don't even remember how the offense started, but the team was, we just got riddled with injuries in 2020. So kind of throw that one out the window. But obviously 2021, 22, 3-5 and 3-4. So I think whoever starts is at a disadvantage because we are typically our slow starting team. And I could easily see Lance getting stuck with that and casual fans not paying attention to that fact and using it just for one more. I mean, two of his three starts were like that, in my opinion, where the team was struggling and he got straddled with losses that, I don't know, if the team had been playing better, who knows? We probably would have won.
Looks like the Niners, as we shift the topic a little bit off, we could come back and revisit this topic too. They bolstered the O-line again by signing another kind of I would assume he's kind of like a swing tackle, but he could essentially, I don't know. They got depth in I forget his name. Hold on.
Matt Pryor.
Matt Pryor. Big guy. Really big guy. Not exactly, it looks like a 49ers type of individual, but the Niners really right now are insulating themselves on the offensive line. But if you listen to John Lynch in the meetings down there and wherever they are, Tampa, essentially, Colton McKivitz is your starter at right tackle. And I think for a lot of 49er fans, that just doesn't fit the bill. It just doesn't quite, give you a ton of confidence with a team like this, with the fragility of the quarterbacks that we have. You want a clear cut right tackle. I don't know, like with the Niners not making another move in free agency to really seal up or to kind of add depth to the outside pass rush. I'm starting to think that one of those first three picks that we get, unless we or a move up, might be for an edge player. I don't know with all these movements in depth if we're going to go spend a bunch of money on right or spend a bunch of picks to move up to get a right tackle. It just doesn't seem like like it's going to happen. I mean, it could happen, but they've put so much into the offensive line so far in the offseason that I keep. We got depth everywhere, is what I'm saying. But I just feel like if they're going to make a move, it's going to be on the defensive line. I don't know. Can you sense them moving up in this year's draft that they continue to kind of insulate depth on this roster? Say if they were to add Yannick or I mean, that's not going to happen. But like say they added like a Justin Houston or Floyd, the ex-Ram or someone like that, maybe a lower level guy that they could go and say like, all right, now we're going to take a bunch of picks and we're going to move up and we're going to go get, right tackle, safety, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I could also see us robbing from the 2024 draft to do that.
Right.
Maybe steal a second round pick, or I think a third round pick would make sense from the 2024 draft. In that, we already have a bunch of comp thirds coming our way anyway, so a third round pick might be somewhat expendable. But yeah, I could see us moving up for a right tackle, speed defensive end, a safety. I don't think you have to move up for a kicker, but it's probably a priority. That's kind of a later topic, so I'll wait till we get to that. But those are sort of my priorities for this draft in that order: right tackle, defensive end, safety.
Real quick, I just want to say what's up, if they're still in here, to East Coast Red and Gold Podcast. I appreciate you coming through. I see you have a different logo. That's why I did not recognize you, but I appreciate you coming through. Everybody's always busy doing their thing on here, so anytime you can break away from your own stuff and come and support somebody else's, it's always awesome. Bashar's in here, Brian Colt, David McNiner, 49er Throwback. A lot of the regulars. Not a super populated stream today, like as we thought going in that we might be a little light in the live viewers department, and you were right on point with that one. But for those of you who are here, very much appreciated. I don't think the YouTube gods like me very, very much right now because I'm always saying mean things about them on YouTube. So,
stop it.
let's get back to Trey Lance. Do you agree that Trey Lance's time to have redemption is now, and that if he doesn't capitalize now, we can essentially write the book on him and say that it's over? Essentially, he comes in and he just balls out in camp. He balls out in the OTAs. Looks great in the preseason if they play him, and then he comes into the season and really, really looks good. Could this be the Jalen Hurts arc? And then, a year from now, we're talking about, I can't believe we even considered Brock Purdy to be the starter. Or is it, or if it doesn't happen, could you see the Niners saying, you know what? We're so sure that Trey Lance isn't the guy and Brock Purdy is, that we're willing to take trade offers maybe early in the season, if not early next offseason.
I could definitely see Trey Lance coming in and starting and never looking back. To where, yeah, like you said, Brock ends up being an inexpensive backup, just the way he was drafted to be. As far as, letting him go, I think it's a mistake anywhere before the end of his second full season, because you just don't know what you have in a young QB, even with one full season played, and we're not even close to one full season, not even a quarter of a season yet. So I would love to see us keep him at least until the end of 2024 would be my hope, but he's got to play. So I do understand that side of it too. It's kind of a similar situation to James Wiseman with the Warriors, where it's a win now team and you just got to let him go play, even though you might regret it someday. You're not ready to, not ready to let him play here, and you want to win with Brock now. I understand that too. It's frustrating. I I just hope we give him some time, and I hope he just plays out, and we don't even have to worry about it.
Um,
Because he has a high enough ceiling to where you'd be like, oh yeah, Brock was a game manager. He's better than Jimmy as a game manager, but he's not a franchise quarterback. And maybe he can become one. I'm not saying Brock is peaked. I do think he has more room to grow, but I don't think there's a lot more. I mean, I think we've seen a lot of what we can expect from Brock Purdy.
yeah, Brock Purdy to me is a guy who plays above his talent level, and he gives everything to where some quarterbacks can just have it be natural. They can come out. He doesn't have the arm. He doesn't have the size. He can't make certain throws, whereas Trey Lance could pretty much do it all. The biggest issue that goes against Trey Lance is Trey Lance has inexperience, one, and two. He just, when you can't hit those layup throws, when you can't be efficient in the underneath stuff and move the chains, and everything has to be either a big play or a run. I think it handicapped Kyle early in the season, where he just realized, like, okay, this guy just doesn't have it completely in the passing game. So we got to kind of manufacture some things. And that's, I think, what led to him getting hurt. If he's able to hit the throws and make plays on a consistent basis and develop and read and react in the pocket, instead of, everything always being where it seems like he's hitching and kind of second guessing himself and having to break loose. To me, it seems like a guy who the game's just not coming too quick enough right now. And whereas, you see Brock Purdy back there, and he's so small and so little, yet his mind is so fast, and he sees things so quickly. And but you're right. I think talent wise, Trey's through the roof, and Brock has kind of hit his peak. But I don't know. This to me comes more from the players in the locker room, who, if you talk to certain individuals who are close to the team, these players, when they were asked, off after the season who they'd want to playing quarterback, they said they'd rather have Brock, because they are in a window right now and they want to win. And as much as they feel bad for Trey Lance and his lack of development, this window of players and team might not be here forever, so they got to kind of make the best of it. And if Brock Purdy helps them do that quicker, then that's just how it works. And it's unfair to Trey Lance, but that's the way it goes. And that's kind of where my mind is too. It's like, as much as I like him, if Brock is ready right now and Trey is still going to be stumbling and bumbling and costing us games, it's tough. It's a tough call. Like David McNiner says, losing games to the Bears, Broncos, and Falcons cost us the 1 seed. We need to start fast. Yeah, like that. That would be the biggest indictment on Trey Lance, is you have this ready-made team around you, and you come out and you're just herky-jerky and inconsistent, and you cost us games against shit teams that you shouldn't be losing to. So that's kind of where my mind is on it. It sucks. It's I can't believe we're talking about it. But at this point, and we're going to continue to talk about it in the offseason, but that's just the way it goes sometimes.
True, but I think blaming the Bears on Lance is a little bit unfair, in that the defense had almost 100 yards in penalties.
Yes.
They had a drive extending penalty on every single scoring drive by Justin Fields. 2 third downs and a second down in the end goal situation. And, Debo had the fumble inside the 20, which cost you 3 to 7 points plus momentum. So I'm not going to say that Trey Lance, didn't play a part in this losing. I just don't think he was anywhere near the biggest part.
No, that first game was just a really weird situation, because it was like, I saw somebody has a clip of, like, I don't know if it's from the press box or whatever during the monsoon, where like the field lines are pretty much missing. And like, it was just like, there was no shot. Even if we were going to come back in that game, once that happened, it was pretty much over. So yeah, that game was kind of a wash to me. And then like the next game we played, like, he got hurt so early. We really don't know what he is, but one of the reasons that, John Lynch talked about when they interviewed him is that Trey has to learn to stay healthy. I mean, that goes for both quarterbacks really, but Trey was brought in with all the bells and whistles and being a top 3 pick. So,
and I think that's
what, go ahead.
I was going to say, and that's the one way where I can see it making sense to move on, is if, you're saying if Trey balls out all preseason, and he starts to ball out in the season, he gets hurt early in the season again, then you kind of just got to say, you know what, you just can't stay healthy. Maybe you can for another team, but we can't keep waiting here. That would make sense for me to trade. But then he's going to have no trade value at that point anyway, either, more than likely.
Right. So. You almost somebody made a good point. I was listening to some radio, and you're like, to trade him early when he still has value would be the best thing. If you trade him after he's been in there and played horribly, and then Brock Purdy takes back over, you're going to lose any and all trade leverage. So you almost would have to trade him before the season if Brock Purdy was ready somehow, some way. And so that to me, that's just, I think that would set 49er fans up in a freaking uproar, because they would be like, you never gave this kid a shot. And they would almost turn on Brock Purdy at anything he does wrong. So like I said, the best way for this to go is to trade a play really good, almost borderline great. And then we're talking about Brock Purdy being a backup, and we never look back as a franchise. That has to be what happens. And I know that sounds like next to impossible to guarantee or next to impossible to expect, but that's the way it has to go. This kid has to come out and be like the second coming, or otherwise the Niners brass is going to be like, yeah, we're done. And if they do it before the season to get some sort of compensation, then that's it. If they wait till after he comes in and poops up the joint and looks bad, then that would suck for the 49ers even worse. So my hope is that he comes out and balls out just like you, Ted, and then we're not talking about it anymore, at least for a while. And then we have a really good backup that we could depend on once in a while. You know, if he comes in and plays well and then, you know, kind of falls off, but he gets a shot and he just doesn't have it, and then you move on from him and you still have Brock Purdy on the team, I'm cool with that. But I want to see him get a shot. I want to see him go through it. If he can't stay, like you said, if he can't stay healthy and he gets hurt again, you got to pull the plug. It's just, you know, hey, we gave it a try. You can't stay on the field. You're going to go somewhere. Maybe you develop somewhere else, and then you come back and kick our ass in a couple of years, and we'll regret it. But unfortunately, this is a win now league, and if you don't win now, you're gone. Coaches, GMs, players alike. So nobody's safe.
Very true.
I want to go to something that's way off topic here. So the 49ers are asking the NFL for some stadium upgrades. I think it was like $120 million on a brand new. This stadium is essentially not even 10 years old. It's 9 years old, I think. And they're looking to do some stadium upgrades, and they're asking the National Football League for it because I guess they have the World Cup coming to them, and they want to host another Super Bowl. I think Super Bowl 60, if I'm not mistaken, 50, 60. I don't know where we're at now.
2026 or 2027, I think, were the 2 years. So.
My question when I first heard that was, are they going to do something about the sun finally? Are they going to put up some sort of sun barrier or something? What are your thoughts on freaking not even a 10-year-old stadium needing to get money from the league to do some not repairs, but to retrofit some newer amenities to it?
Well, we know the city of Santa Clara is not going to pay for it because that relationship is not going too well between the Niners and Santa Clara. So I guess it's just to upgrade the luxury boxes is what I understand. I don't think it has anything to do with the shade, which
I think it had to do with the scoreboard too. They wanted to do something with the scoreboards as well.
Yeah, ultimately, as long as the NFL is willing to pony up, I'd say get money from wherever you can to make it as sweet as you can. And if we can host another Super Bowl, that's great for the area. It's great recognition for the stadium and for the Niners. And if it's making more money, bringing in higher dollar clientele, then that's going to help the bottom line to help us get more revenue into the future. So I'm all for it, whoever pays for it, pump the money in, and then, pull the money out essentially by charging more for those luxury boxes and whatever else was upgraded.
What is you live near the Bay Area? I do not. I'm an East Coaster.
I'm on the peninsula.
What's the issue with Santa Clara and the 49ers? What's the fallout?
I think it came down to, there's other events there besides football games. There's concerts and other things, and the 49ers were managing the other events, and Santa Clara wanted control of it, or they wanted the revenue from those other events. And the deal they signed, I think the Niners were getting the money from those other events. And so it's just a squabble over money, essentially, as far as I understand.
But it's their stadium. Like, they built it, right? So why should they? Maybe if there was a revenue share, that's crazy though.
Well, Santa Clara helped.
Did
They
they?
put money up. Yeah.
So they just should have. I for the love of God, I don't understand why they could not have figured out a way to stay in San Francisco and have that. We have this empty spot where Candlestick is now. Not
In
saying
a
you had to.
word, it was Gavin Newsom, as far as I understand, that he, didn't was very unhelpful in getting San Francisco to help pay. So if Santa Clara said they'd pay, so they said, "All right, we'll go to Santa Clara." I think
Problem
that's
is
what
they
it
built
came
the
down to.
stadium that was meant for the Bay Area, and just retrofitted it to Santa Clara, and that's why it just stands out as being so plain and so weird. Whereas it was, if you had the Bay looking out some of those little end zone splits where the corners, that was what was supposed to be, kind of like when you go to San Francisco Giants games.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Oracle Park, they're calling
That's
it
a
now.
beautiful baseball stadium. I
Yeah,
think it's sweet. I don't even like baseball like that, but like to be able to play in a stadium where like essentially if you hit a home run, you hit it into the water. That's freaking sweet. No,
no,
and
and the sun would have gone behind that hill at Candlestick Point a lot earlier, so people wouldn't have. And it's just cooler. It's much cooler in Brisbane, California, next to the bay, than Santa Clara, which there's really not much bay. It's only marsh down there essentially. So there's no like water cooling effect, and the breeze in Santa Clara comes off the land, and at Candlestick Point it comes off the water, and so it's a much cooler location temperature wise. So
yeah, because they
people
used to
wouldn't
have
have been
49er games.
frying like they do now.
Oh yeah, if you watch 49er games on television, because that's all I've ever done, that middle section of the stadium that has nobody there and like early parts of the game that's sad. You
It's
know what I mean? Like,
because it's like 90 degrees out and like 110 in those seats.
right,
It's
but
like,
Tampa Bay fans still fill up their stadium even when it's hot. What's up with the Santa Clara people? Are they not diehards? Because I'd be sitting there frying if I had to watch my team. I would just buy a bunch of water, and just deal with it. Uh,
yeah, it's pretty tough. I mean, it's tough. Even I'm at my buddy's on the other side of the stadium, and even having the sun on your back,
Knowing
it's
me, I would
incredibly
have to
hot.
wear like a full on freaking like SPF 7,000 because my redheaded
Oh
ass
yeah.
would be frying. um, j- Jump off of stadium talk because I'm sure that bores people to death. 49ers are looking to pick up the fifth-year option of Brandon Ayuk. It looks like it's all but an official thing until it actually happens, but that's the talk. What's your thoughts on Brandon Ayuk and the fifth-year option? I think he deserves. I think he deserves to get paid. I think he's gotten better every single year. I think he became an unquestioned leader in this team last year. He's not super vocal, but he's of what is Kyle and John's thing, or maybe it's Kyle's. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. You never stay the same kind of thing. I think with
Right.
Brandon Ayuk, his needle's pointing up, and I don't think he's still reached his full potential. If he had a quarterback that could hit him downfield, I think we would see a Justin Jefferson. I'm not saying he's going to be Justin Jefferson or Diggs or whatever, but like he's got super super great route running talent. He's quick. Might not have the breakaway kind of like the Debo, breaking a bunch of tackles and running it in the end zone, but his game's just different. You know, where Debo, he welcomes contact. Him and Kittle. Ayuk's a little bit different. He can avoid it because he's angular. He can move. What's your take on him if they decide, or it seems like now they're deciding they're going to pick up the fifth? You down with it?
Absolutely. And I think it's just a placeholder. I think that they will extend him as well, because I don't think they want to pay, because the fifth year option is 14 million or 14 and a half, something like that in 2024. And Debo's got a $28 million cap hit that year. So you're talking over 42 million for your two wide receivers. And, we wouldn't pay 2 defensive tackles with Defoe and Armstead, and we wouldn't pay 2 offensive tackles with Trent Williams and McGlinchey. So I doubt we're going to pay 2 wide receivers that handsomely. I think we'll have to figure something out. I don't think we'll get rid of either, but I think we'll have to do some cap, finagling to try and push some of that money down the road.
One thing that I think about with Ayuk,
I mean, if you extend Ayuk, then ultimately that season could be a $1 million, or vet minimum plus whatever his, signing bonus is, divided by that many years.
And the Hargrave deal the Hargrave deal is essentially a 2-year deal. They can get out. So, they might take a run at it with Hargrave a couple seasons and then decide like, hey, we're paying Brandon Ayuk, and maybe they draft and develop a defensive tackle and then move on from him. Listen, one question or one topic that has been, I'm going to circle back to Purdy. One topic that people talk about with Purdy is that he has all these great playmakers around him right now. And I think that makes him look a lot better than he actually is, which, I think he's pretty good, honestly. I think he's pretty damn, mobile, and he's sneaky talented. But they made a point that like eventually you're gonna have to start paying guys, or guys are gonna age out. Can you see Purdy being that guy down the road? And so, because eventually you have to pay people. Eventually people retire, or something happens to Christian McCaffrey. That's why a lot of people think that they have all this talent right now and they're going to figure out a way to keep him at least another 2 seasons. But you'd want to have a quarterback that can kind of live without all that, and that can make things happen essentially athletically with his feet and his arm. And that's why you want the Trey Lance to develop, where he doesn't have to be so dependent on all these amazing playmakers, where I think a lot of people think, and even I do to an extent, that Purdy is kind of he kind of benefits from all that, including a guy like Ayuk. And yeah, you want to keep Ayuk around if Purdy's your quarterback, because you're trying to give him as many weapons as you can. Do you agree with that to an extent?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if Jimmy got carried, then, Purdy got carried too, just not as much because, like you said, Purdy carried us some, but he didn't carry us as much as like Patrick Mahomes or, Joe Burrow or Josh Allen type of quarterback could do. Even I'd throw Lamar Jackson in there. He's, obviously a topic of interest this offseason. I think Purdy is a great value because he's only $1 million a season. But, without all these weapons, yeah, I have my questions. I think he could end up being a, Drew Brees type, as top end if he doesn't keep improving. Or Russ Wilson, peak Russ Wilson type.
That's not bad. That's not bad though. Like you could win a Super Bowl with Drew Brees.
Well, but remember how they won it? Sean Payton had that crazy onside kick to start the second half, and Hank Baskett botched the onside kick recovery for the Colts. And so, they won a ring, but is that how you want to count on winning a ring? Otherwise it was just back and forth that whole game because of what they were paying Drew Brees, they had no defense, and that was pretty true a lot of his career. And then, with Russ Wilson, the only ring he won was when he had, prime beast mode as his back and, a historic LOBD defense, that is. So again, yeah, you can win it, but not once the team gets depleted, not once neither one of them won once they got paid. That's the thing that is to keep in mind. And so if Purdy is good and he's winning a lot, he's going to eventually get paid at some point. And he may not get top QB money, but he'll get enough to where you're not going to be able to put all these weapons, O-line and D around him like what we saw in 2022. It looks like we probably will this year, though, at least. So I don't know. Or it depends on if we keep Ayuk. And that's the other thing, too. I want Ayuk for Purdy. I want him for Lance, too, because if Lance comes in and, like you said, he stinks it up, I want to be able to say, oh, well, he stunk it up with the same weapons Purdy had.
Right. He didn't have a lot of the same weapons to start.
No, right. He never played with CMC.
He could be amazing with Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. And
especially somebody's like, oh, developing guy, he could say like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to force that. Oh, look, I have a running back who could take a 5-yard screen and turn it into a 15-yard gain. I'll just do that. You know what I mean? Like he had that ability, whereas before it's like he has to make these like ungodly throws. I want the same weapon. That's true. That's one thing that's been over. I think people kind of lose in the conversation is give him a fair shot with the same plethora of guys, and then if he poops it up, then you say, okay, this guy really doesn't have it because he's literally got to be a point guard and he still can't do it. So, but yeah, we haven't even seen that.
Yeah, I had somebody argue with me on the timeline. Oh, you want a quarterback who's dependent on having a running back? And I'm like, Christian McCaffrey is not a running back. He's the running back. He's the best running back in the league. Fantasy doesn't mean a ton, but he's the number one fantasy in standard leagues. He's the number one player in PPR leagues. The guy is a difference maker, not just with the catches he makes and the runs that he peels off, but it's also the gravity that he creates, a lot like Steph Curry for the Warriors. Everybody kind of flows to him, and it gets everybody else wide open. Just ask George Kittle, who got 7 TDs from Purdy in 6 games after he's never had 6 in 16 games before. And that was in 5 seasons of 16 games. So, yeah, I mean, come on. The guy is an incredible difference maker, and we deserve to see Lance with CMC.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And Lance, I don't think one thing that a lot of people say is the 49ers kind of, discovered when they got Lance that he wasn't as quick and the run game might not be part of the offense. And they felt like they were a little bit handicapped because essentially now, like, he's more of just a scrambling thrower. Whereas before someone like Lamar Jackson, you literally run an offense on the option where you just like, oh, fake it out. Oh, there goes Lamar Jackson, and he gets 10, 15 yards a shot. And I think that's what the Niners thought they were getting. And like, they figure we'll develop the passing game while he uses his other athletic abilities. And some are saying that there's talk that like when the Niners got him, they realized like, ooh, man, he doesn't quite have the athletic ability that we thought he did in the running game. And they've been a little bit, hands tied, so to speak, with his, just lack of progression in his skills because he's so raw. So I'm of the mindset that you play to develop, and if you don't play, you don't develop. So let him play with all the same weapons, and if he stinks the bed, then he sucks, and you put Purdy in as soon as possible. But if not, Purdy goes to being what he probably should be in his career down the line, and that's a backup. I really believe Purdy outplayed him. Like I feel like you said, we've seen the best of him, and I don't know how much better he can get with his size and his arm strength. But maybe we're wrong. Maybe he is the second coming of Drew Brees, or a poor man's Russell Wilson. But we spent all this capital on this quarterback, and he hasn't really had a fair shot. So I think a lot of it has to do with the players, though, Ted. If the players in the locker room are saying, like, listen, we want Purdy in there because Purdy, we know what we got and we can go win with him right now. Some of them don't want to go through kind of a growing pain period. So really, what I think is happening is Kyle Shanahan's pretty much, there's this talk that he has like this group of players that he consults with on the team, kind of like a group that he says like, okay, like what's best, and ask them, and then they kind of give him their answer. If they're saying Purdy, it's Purdy. And no matter what Lance is doing essentially in training camp, if Purdy looks like he's ready to go week 1, it's going to be his job because the players behind the scenes are pretty much asking for it. So
the Cabo click.
Yep.
Or the Cabo core, as I like to call them. It's not so derogatory, but
let's one thing I wanted to ask you, and it's not on the list of topics, is this whole Lamar Jackson talk. They asked, I think it was Kyle, and he just said that he doesn't fit the Niners' current like player, like the way that they play, the current like built of the offense, and
the salary cap.
And the salary cap. What would someone like him look on an offense like that? My brother even said, he's like, you imagine trading Trey Lance down there and just getting Lamar Jackson. And I told my brother, I was like, he's so talented, but I don't know, like in the postseason, he looks so like bad, you know what I mean? And like Purdy's just so undersized, underskilled guy, and he looks so good in the postseason. So it's like I would be afraid almost. Like, yeah, he'll look good in the making stats and getting those stats during the regular seasons, but postseason's where it's at, man. And if you come up small, I want no part of you on this team. What's your take on that?
Well, some of that is lack of wide receivers. If you look at the wide receivers Lamar's had, it's hardly a murderer's row of top talent. Also, some of that is Greg Roman, their offensive coordinator, who used to be our offensive coordinator when we had Kaepernick in the Super Bowl, and he refused to run Frank Gore 3 or 4 times, inside the 5-yard line. There on the goal line, just kept throwing fades to Crabtree in the corner of the end zone, where Colin Kaepernick, I like to say, has the touch of an iron worker. So some of it is not Lamar's fault, but he definitely has had some injury issues pop up lately, and he running quarterbacks. They don't have the same shelf life as a pocket quarterback.
They do not.
Even a mobile quarterback somewhere in the middle of those two. So who knows when he's actually going to start breaking down. But to trade a bunch of picks and pay him a crazy amount of money, I don't know. I just don't want to turn us into the Ravens West.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what we would become, essentially. Because if you have to pay all that money, you have to freaking just scale that roster down to like bare bones minimum just to pay the quarterback. But if you have no weapons, what's the point?
Yeah, well, it's like, if you remember the conversations before all the allegations against Deshaun Watson, when the Niners were hot and heavy for Deshaun Watson, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, we'll trade Bosa and Kittle and Debo, and we'll get Deshaun Watson. And I'm like, okay, and then we'll be the Texans West,
Right.
So it's like,
people make it like it's Madden, like, yeah, just do this, and that will be fine. Like, you do realize, like, those players that you're trading away are like foundational pieces. They're not just some dudes. Like, Debo's
like Josh Allen,
right?
Josh Allen's got tons of good weapons around him, Stephon Diggs and all that, and he can't get it done.
He might get Hopkins. Who knows?
Yeah,
they still won't win though. As long as Kansas City's
Burrow's got some of the best wide receivers in the league with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd.
It's a really good.
He hasn't got it done. You look at Justin Herbert; it's a hell of a quarterback. San Diego hasn't even won a playoff game.
Yeah, so, that is one underperforming franchise. They have one of the best young quarterbacks in the league. They can't win diddly poo, and they're not even like a really good team during the season either. They're they're just in the middle there. Kansas City and them. Kansas City is as long as as Patrick Mahomes is around. I think they're going to own the AFC West, so it's always going to be them, and then the Chargers wherever they fall behind that. But yeah, it's I just don't see the Lamar Jackson thing. I think he would be better somewhere like Miami because he could run around freaking free and easy because they have all these deep speed guys that you have to cover deep, which means you have to play honest. And he could run wild. Him and Mostert in the same backfield. Oh my God. And if they say they drafted a running back who was really fast, that would I told my brother, I was like, that would be something interesting. Because you guys have Tyreek Hill, you have Jalen Waddle, you have now you would have a guy like him moving around back there. And if you decide you want to be a running team, yes, it would like I said, it would just be a really big, really good team. That's all I got to say.
I could see the Falcons too. They've made a lot of nice moves this offseason.
Yeah, that would be a good him with that tight end down there. I forget his name. He's real good.
That
dude.
That dude from Florida, Kyle Pitts.
And
Drake London. Sorry,
Drake London.
Same year as Drake Jackson, both from USC. Two Drakes.
What's your thought on the 49ers finally signing a kicker and Zane Gonzalez, pretty much giving up absolutely nothing for it?
Nothing burger story. He's just a placeholder. He's just so you don't end up at the end when the music stops. You don't have a chair. But
do you think they're still going to go after a guy like Moody?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think you can draft a guy. You could still get Gold. Robbie Gold could still be back because Robbie went out and made that video about something about I love the city, Chicago, but he hasn't signed anywhere either. So like, it's just like one-upmanship. It's just a chess match, poker match, whatever you want to call it. But ultimately, it's just insurance so that we don't end up at the end of the song with no chair to sit in the musical chairs, if you will. I don't think he's the answer. He's a dome guy and he's not that great. I think he
He's
can
a
kick it out of the end
dumb
zone.
guy.
Dome.
Oh, I thought you said he was a
Cards.
oh, okay. I was going to say he's a
Arizona
dumb guy.
Cards.
Like, wow, what happened?
No. I usually don't call people disparage their intelligence. I'll just say they're not that bright usually.
Yeah, I thought
Sharp
thought
as
he
a
was
spoon.
I thought he was the guy, but a lot happened since then with people giving takes that essentially they think he's a placeholder. So
Yeah,
I thought it was the Zane Gonzalez show, and we were going to live in the world he's.
Well, especially when you look at what we gave up, it was like a 2025 seventh round pick. I mean, that's as close to being a signing as you can still be. I called it a quote unquote trade because that's just like,
well, John
like
Lynch or John even
minimal.
since we signed a guy. He didn't say we signed the kicker. So
Yeah.
John Lynch pretty much told you exactly how he feels about that signing.
Yeah.
Real quickly, and then we'll get out of here. I don't know if you picked up on the picture that they had out there with the Kyle's coaching tree. I thought it was quite nice to see such a young coach have so much come from his just the way he's able to develop coaches and the way that the 49ers have kind of become the in a ways like how they were back in the old days. Like they have all these like people from front office or coaches all start to like litter through the league and become 49ers Northeast, 49ers South, what I mean? Stuff like that. Did you catch that? Did you catch that picture? But I thought it was really nice. I thought it was cool to see.
I don't think I saw it, but I mean, I can imagine who's in it. You got Mike McDaniel, you got Saleh, you got D'Amico, you got Rand Carthon, and you got Mayhew from the Commanders. Also,
yeah, they have a couple other guys in there. I forget who are front office guys, but I thought it was nice. Like. In fact, the 49ers every year get gutted by coaches. I guess it's a good thing. I saw something Jesse Naylor tweeted earlier about, the Niners or where we, in 10 years, are we just going to be the bridesmaids and we're going to have like a anniversary where we have the 2019 team. We celebrate them as a team who was pretty good but didn't win it. I feel like as great as all that is. Yeah, like with the almost team. Like I'm getting to the point now where it's like, yeah, it's real cool to have all these guys not defect, but move on from the franchise. But at the same time, I'd much rather win a championship and then have that kind of stuff happen. The fact that, like, I don't know, I don't want to get to the point where I feel like even the franchise and the fans are kind of good with being the runner up, because right now I feel like sometimes I get the sense that there's a little bit of contentment with just being the team that's in it every year. And I kind of want to lose that. I want to be the team that, like, not necessarily be the Rams, but like, go out and make that trade that nobody thought you would, just so you can go say, hey, we did everything we could to win the Super Bowl, which they essentially did with Christian McCaffrey last year.
And then Hargrave signing, that was a home run
that's
signing.
a huge signing. That's a huge signing.
Yeah, that was the biggest splash of the offseason, I would say. So
what's going on, Laura? Hola, Aaron and Ted checking in on y'all on this hump day. I forgot it was hump day. Hump day. Yeah, thank you guys anybody who commented. It's been a slow and empty chat, but thanks anyways for anybody who's coming here. I guess like I said, I scare everybody away with my negativity. So, but we're still here for you just in case. If you want to watch us on the rewind, I guess the last that pretty much to me sums up everything. We've kind of touched on. The only thing the Niners are really doing right now is they're down. I know they're down wherever they were doing those the yearly meetings, but they're doing the pro days now. Like John Lynch was at Stanford pro days and stuff. It's so weird though, because in other years when we have all these second round picks, that you could kind of like there was more excitement. To me, I'm not as excited because we have to wait till the third round. that's why I keep thinking the more we do in this kind of time right now, post free agency, the more we add to this roster, the more I get a feeling that there might be a move up. Do you and I probably asked you this last week, do you keep feeling like the more we kind of insulate our depth, that more there's a chance that the Niners might, like you said, maybe steal something from the next draft and go up and get a right tackle or an edge guy in the second round or something like that? Can you see that? Because I can.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think right tackle is a glaring need. Safety's up there, defensive end, speed defensive end. All three of those I could see as move up targets potentially. But really, right tackle. That's the one for me.
Thank you, Brian Call, for reminding me that I have to watch the latest episode of The Mandalorian. This is the way.
Oh, I'm behind. I can only get through 2 with my wife, and then she's like, "No more." So
yeah, this is the way. That should be my new thing when you come into the chat. Now, Beto is wipe your feet. You come in my chat now. This is the way.
The opening scene was pretty cool for sure.
I haven't seen this episode.
No. I mean, of episode 1. I'm super behind. I just
what's episode 1 like of the series?
Of season 2.
Oh, okay. We're on season 3 now.
Okay, well then episode 1 of season 3.
Okay, then you're really bad.
Yeah, no spoilers.
No, I'm not going to spoil anything because nothing's really happened yet. To be honest with you, it's very slow. It's like there's a slow build going on here.
I tell you, it's funny because that's sort of what I thought when I saw that opening scene. There was like so much going on. I'm like, you could kind of like, you built up enough like blood capital for a while. You could kind of milk this thing along for a while without much happening, and people are still going to be going off that opening scene. So
I think what a lot of people have to realize who watched the sequel trilogy, even though a lot of us hated it, this Mandalorian and this Grogu thing that's going on, this is all connecting with that. They're building the connection between, because this season takes place 10 years after Return of the Jedi. So essentially Luke is now in his 30s, and it's been 10 years since the fall of the Emperor and the Empire. So yeah, it's just keep that in mind when you watch this show. It's good to know where in the timeline you are, because a lot of these Star Wars shows are essentially are either past that, post whatever movie. This is 10 years, like I said, 10 years after Return of the Jedi. But I know this is a 49er chat, but I'm a big Star Wars guy, so yeah, I'm gonna definitely watch that probably tomorrow morning with my coffee. That's when I like to watch it.
So then it's not a prequel; it's a postquel. And it's
post-original trilogy.
Because Return of the Jedi is basically the last timeline, because everything else was prequels, right?
No, the sequel trilogy. 6. No, the sequel trilogy, episodes 7, 8, 9.
Oh, right.
That takes place about.
I was thinking of
Brian
1, 2, and 3.
Fixing it. There might be some fixing it. Listen, I hated those. I'm not a big fan of those movies either. But all I got to say is I wish they would have done something where Ben Solo lived, and it would have been like the Skywalker still going, but they wanted to kill the Skywalkers off for what
it was too much of a parallel to Ben Kenobi getting killed by Darth Vader. There was like all that.
Yeah,
it was so similar to that. I was just like,
it is. But I'm still a junkie for it, waiting for his next fix. So.
Oh yeah, no, I mean Star Wars is epic for sure.
Any what's going on in the TED Talks ball world? Because I got I have a stream with Raj at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight, and then I will be on with Ryan Hensley on Friday. I forget what time. I think 1:30, so it's like 3:30 Eastern. But what's going on in your side of your neck of the woods?
I'm kind of light to finish up the rest of the week. Unusually, I have Lawrence Jackson Jr. on Friday at 2:05 on his lunch break. He likes to pop out to the car and hop on. And as of right now, that's it. So if anybody's looking to collab tomorrow or Friday, let me know. Hit me in the DMs. We'll get you penciled in.
Hit him up, guys. Bash. Bryant Culp. Anybody else who has a
Yeah,
channel?
I've got an open invitation to Bryant. Yeah, I just haven't heard back from him. I said if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. So, yeah, it doesn't have to be on TED Talks Ball either. If you want me to come on your show, especially if you've already been on TED Talks Ball and you want me to come on your show, I don't want to hog people just to my show. That's not really fair. So, happy to make it tit for tat, if you will.
Yeah, that's what we do here on First and Ted. We go tit for tat. No.
Pause.
As long as we have electricity, and it's
Oh,
not.
okay. Hey, I had my first blackout free Tuesday and Wednesday in 3 weeks.
That's insane.
Yeah. And there was massive rain yesterday. I was sure we were going to lose power again, but we didn't.
What's so crazy is everybody was so concerned about, because you guys have droughts in California and there's always fires. Right. And a lot of those reservoirs are so low. Like those reservoirs are like overflowing now. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, the levees are bursting.
That's a good problem to have in a way. Yeah, you don't want flooding, but you guys have been like scorched earth over there for years. So
and there's a lot of mudslides that come with it, especially in Southern California.
So it was 50 degrees today here, and then it dropped 20 degrees or more within like half an hour. Yeah, it's like it's been really crappy here. We've had like a light winter, but then it picks up now, and then it melts. It's been crappy.
It was 46 here, which is really cold for late March, almost April. And my wife is like, "When is this cold weather gonna?" And I'm like, "Oh, honey, the rain's gonna stop and it's gonna be 90, and we're gonna be like bummed that we have to like be stuck inside with air conditioning at that point."
Dude, that happens every year. Like the worst thing I hate is. You're in the middle of the summer and it's beautiful and it's sunny. Like we had a kind of a drought over here, here in New York last year. So my lawn and everything was, don't talk about the fall in the summer. I don't want to hear about it. Or in the early summer when it's just starting to get hot outside. Oh, I can't wait till fall where I can wear my jackets and drink my spiced. Like, no, stop. Like, why do you have to be that person? Or when it's really cold, say, I can't wait for it to be warm outside. Like, dude, enough. People like that piss me off. I Facebook make Facebook stuff on all the time on that stuff. Like telling people just shut the hell up. Like, stop. Just stop. You make me angry when you do that. Like, oh, it's so cold outside right now. Or it's so hot and humid. I can't wait for fall. It's like, screw you, dude. I don't know. I get mad.
Grass is always greener.
Grass is always greener. Not in my life.
Laura Cat said she had heavy rain today and hail in her part of the Bay Area. Is that which part? Northeast? South? I'm on the peninsula, so she's like, I'm kind of right in between San Francisco and San
That's all you're getting.
There you go. Yeah. She's like, yeah, you're not going to stalk me out of the chat. Mister.
Listen, stalkers, stop asking me where my location is.
Me oh my.
All right, guys and gals. You got anything else, Ted? Anything before we get out here?
Nothing major, man. Just thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure. And
it's so weird in the off-season, Ted. We have to like search for topics where during the season.
I just hope Lance gets his chance. I mean, he deserves it. We deserve it. We don't want to go down as like the worst move up for a quarterback in NFL history, and that's what we're tracking to.
Tri-Valley, Pleasanton. It sounds something out of like a storybook. I live in Pleasanton, Tri-Valley.
Yeah, well, that's right. Right up by 680 and 580 come together.
I hate you guys. So. You're all West Coast. I don't really hate you guys, but I'm an East Coast guy, man. I freaking what the hell? Does anybody got a job for me out there? I could just
come visit for like Fan Appreciation Day or one of these. I'm going to try and get to the OTAs.
So here we got to do is somehow, some way, Bashar's got to bring his pizza oven to the tailgate. If he has to like rip it off of his house, and then I'll have pizza with Bash. I can hang out with Ted. We could be really, really awkward and say a lot of weird things, and then pause, to make everybody uncomfortable. Me and Ryan can, get into
Salt
it about
Peppa and Naughty by Nature references.
Yeah, me and Bash could sing all our weird like 80s references. I'm in upstate. I'm in Rochester, so I'm about an hour and a half away from Buffalo. So if I want to go to if Niners play the Bills, it's just an hour and a half away. But I like it up here because you have all 4 seasons. The only problem we have right now is there's a lot of wind, so I've had a lot of broken trees in my yard and stuff. But other than that, I can't complain. Get all 4 seasons. But anyways, everyone, thank you so much. You can hear it in my voice that I'm from New York because I sound like a freaking ass. I sound like an asshole. That's okay though. But yeah, everybody take care. Everybody have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you next week on First and Ted. Take care, everyone.
Peace. Go Niners.
Oh, might want to add the broadcast.